Here's a hard truth that most men completely miss. When you stop talking to her, something shifts inside her. And it's not just a small change. It's a massive shift, one you might not even see coming. It's time to stop believing that more talking equals better results. In reality, silence can do far more than words ever could. Now, before you panic, let me explain. When you stop texting, calling, or chasing her, you're activating something deep within her, something primal, something powerful. Most men think that to keep a woman's attention, they need to constantly be in her face, texting, calling, and fulfilling every little need. But here's the reality. That constant need for attention, it pushes her away. Women crave mystery. They crave space. And more than anything, they crave a challenge. When you step back, you're not being rude or mean. You're giving her the chance to remember what it feels like to want you. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what happens when you stop talking to a woman and how that silence can completely transform the dynamic of your relationship. You'll learn why disappearing can actually make her more interested, why she'll start pursuing you, and how you can use this strategy to your advantage. Let me be clear, this isn't a game, this is psychology. This is how attraction works on a deeper level. So, if you're tired of always being the one to chase, if you're tired of feeling like you're giving more than you're getting, listen up. What I'm about to share will change everything you think you know about relationships, power, and attraction. It's time to stop chasing. It's time to stop talking. And yes, it's time to let her do the chasing. Keep watching to find out how. The dynamic shift, how she'll start chasing you. When you stop talking to a woman, you force a shift in the dynamics. Suddenly, you're no longer available. You're no longer chasing her. This change sends a shockwave through her mental state because it challenges her usual expectations. The moment you step back, the power balance shifts, and she'll start feeling the tension of your absence. It's simple psychology. When something isn't readily available, we want it more. Women, like anyone else, are wired to chase what they can't have. When you're always there, responding to her texts, showing up when she needs you, it can make her think you're too easy to get. But the moment you pull back, you flip the script. You become the one who's hard to get. You'll notice she's the one reaching out first, texting more often, and even making plans to see you. In relationships, people often underestimate the power of absence. Too much attention can make someone feel comfortable, almost complacent. But when you step back, it creates space for her to realize you're not always going to be at her beck and call. That space makes her question your absence and wonder where you've gone. This is when the pursuit starts. The dynamic shifts from you chasing her to her chasing you. Here's a practical example. Let's say you've been talking to a woman for a while, texting daily, making plans to meet. Everything seems smooth. But then you decide to pull back for a few days. You stop initiating texts and suddenly become less available. At first, she might not understand why, but soon she'll start wondering what happened. Instead of you being there when she expects, she'll start seeking your attention, texting you first or even reaching out on social media to keep the connection alive. This happens because the shift in dynamics forces her to make the move. It's no longer you doing all the chasing. She feels the void and responds by chasing you to fill that space. The bottom line? You never have to chase. When you step back, she'll come running. She'll start missing you more than ever. When you stop talking to her, the space you leave behind becomes something she can't ignore. Absence doesn't just create silence. It creates a void that she subconsciously wants to fill. Suddenly, those little things you did, whether it was sending a good morning text, calling to check on her day, or just being there to listen, are noticeably gone. And that absence speaks volumes. It sends a message. You're not always going to be there, and it makes her realize just how much she relied on your presence, attention, and consistency. Here's the thing. People often don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. When you're always available, it's easy for someone to take you for granted. But by stepping back, You give her the space to feel the impact of your absence. This period of silence forces her to reflect on the moments you shared, the time you spent together, and the comfort you provided. She starts replaying memories in her head. Every moment she's reminded of something you did or said is a moment that makes her miss you even more. Think of it this way. We crave things that aren't easily accessible. When you pull back and create mystery, she begins to crave that emotional connection with you. She starts wondering what you're up to, if you're seeing someone else, or if you've moved on. That uncertainty creates a powerful psychological pull. Not knowing drives curiosity, and curiosity soon turns into longing, a longing to have you back in her life. This effect is even stronger if you were always consistent before. The sudden change from constant presence to absence makes her feel the void even more. It's like an emotional shock that leads her to realize she misses you, not just as someone who was around, but as someone who brought value to her life. The truth is, sometimes giving someone space to miss you is the best way to make them appreciate you. She starts to feel that missing piece, and instead of you reaching out, she'll be the one feeling the need to reconnect. And when she does, you'll know the tables have turned. She'll start wondering where you went. When you suddenly step back and stop reaching out, it doesn't go unnoticed. One of the strongest psychological effects of this move is the curiosity it triggers in her mind. People are naturally curious about things that deviate from the norm. If she's used to having you around or hearing from you regularly, your absence creates a noticeable gap. This isn't just about missing you. It's about her questioning why you're suddenly gone. That why is a powerful driver. It can keep her mind occupied for hours, even days. Imagine this. She goes from seeing your texts or calls frequently to complete silence. At first, she might brush it off, thinking you're just busy. But as time passes, she'll start wondering, why did he disappear? Did something happen? Is he seeing someone else? She might not say it out loud, but these thoughts will start swirling in her mind. The mystery of your silence creates a mental puzzle, one she'll be drawn to solve, because it affects her directly. This curiosity pulls her back to memories of your interactions, replaying conversations, analyzing your words and gestures, looking for clues about why you went quiet. Then comes the fear of the unknown. Not knowing what you're doing or where you are introduces uncertainty, and that uncertainty triggers her fear of losing control. Suddenly she realizes you're not an open book she can read at any time. Your absence adds an element of mystery, and that mystery keeps her engaged, wondering if you'll be back, what changed, and what you're doing without her. This sense of wonder can slowly develop into something deeper, making her rethink how she values you. She'll start wondering if she underestimated your role in her life and if your presence meant more to her than she initially thought. The mystery can make her feel a renewed attraction, driven by the fact that you're now somewhat out of reach. And nothing triggers interest quite like a little distance, a bit of mystery, and a lot of unanswered questions. She'll value you more when you give her space. Men often make the mistake of thinking that constant attention will win a woman's heart. But here's the truth. When you're always around, always available, and always reaching out, you risk becoming less valued. A woman can start taking your attention for granted, seeing it as predictable or even clingy. Many guys don't realize that giving a woman space isn't a sign of disinterest. It's a sign of confidence. If you want her to truly appreciate you, sometimes you have to step back and let her feel your absence. Think about it. What's worth more? Something that's always within reach, or something that's slightly out of reach? By stepping back, you give her a chance to reflect on what your presence actually means to her. It's easy to miss the value of something that's constant, but when it's not there, its true worth becomes clearer. This is where many men miss out. They don't let her come to her own realization. Constantly pushing yourself into her life prevents her from feeling that natural pull toward you. Giving her space isn't about playing games or manipulating, it's about respect. Respect for yourself and respect for her needs and individuality. When you step back, you're subtly showing her that you're not dependent on her attention for your sense of worth. You're showing her that you have a life, goals, and ambitions outside of the relationship, and that you won't compromise your sense of self. This isn't just attractive, it's magnetic. Men often feel the need to control a situation or chase after a woman, especially if she seems to be drifting away. But here's the hard truth. Chasing only makes her feel pressured, and that pressure can drive her further away. You don't need to be in her space 24/7 to have a meaningful connection. In fact, letting her miss you is what can spark those deeper feelings of attachment and value. The challenge for a lot of men is understanding that stepping back doesn't mean you're losing ground. It means you're allowing her to choose, to reflect, and to realize what she might lose if you're not there. She starts to value the moments she does have with you more, because she knows they're not guaranteed. This builds a stronger bond, a deeper respect, and a more genuine connection. So here's the wake-up call. Stop being so available that she can't even see your worth. Step back, give her room, and let her feel the impact of your absence. She'll value you more when she has to wonder if you'll even be there next time. And in doing so, you'll find a balance between connection and independence. One that she's far more likely to appreciate. She'll realize she took you for granted. When you pull back and let silence fill the space where your attention once was, something powerful happens. She begins to notice the absence, and in that emptiness, the reality hits. She took you for granted. Sometimes people only understand the true value of someone's presence when it's no longer there. In relationships, it's easy for one side to start expecting constant attention, feeling secure that the other person will always be around. When you step back, you break that assumption, giving her a reason to reflect on the dynamic that's been there all along. The thing is, many men don't realize their own worth. They stay in a constant cycle of overgiving and overreaching, trying to prove themselves, thinking that effort alone will earn respect. But unfortunately, that's rarely how it works. When you're always available, the other person can get too comfortable, subconsciously assuming that no matter what, you'll be there. This comfort can lead to taking things for granted. By taking a step back, you disrupt that cycle and make her question if she truly valued you enough. In the gap your absence leaves, she'll likely start replaying moments you shared, the laughter, support, and connection you brought. And as she reflects, she'll come face to face with the realization that she took it all too lightly. Many people don't see the reality of a person's worth until they start missing them. She'll begin to realize that your patience, understanding, and presence were actually rare gifts, not something to be dismissed or ignored. It's important to know that this isn't about manipulation or trying to make her feel guilty. It's about respect for yourself and your own boundaries. By stepping back, you communicate that you won't allow yourself to be undervalued. You give her the opportunity to see that relationships require mutual appreciation. A person who values your presence should never make you feel like you're just an option. So here's the takeaway. Sometimes stepping back is the best way to remind her of what she has to lose. By doing this, you're setting a standard. You're saying, if you don't value what I bring to the table, you risk losing it altogether. Let her come to the realization on her own. When she does, that's when she'll truly see the value in having you around. And when she returns, if she does, it'll be with a new understanding of your worth. And that changes everything. Here's the truth that most won't tell you. If you're always there, you're not valuable. You're just a convenience. The moment you step back and stop chasing is the moment she'll realize your worth. Don't waste your time chasing validation. Let her wonder. Let her miss you. And let her regret taking you for granted. If you're constantly available, you're nothing more than a placeholder. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you experienced this before? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. I'll personally reach out to connect with you. Let's have a real conversation about this. Thanks for watching, and as usual, this is the Behavior Insight.